Always a pleasure to have this gentleman on with us. First time at the D, I believe. Had him at the South Point for so many years over time. I've known him for over a decade. He first came to sort of public knowledge, I believe, he'll correct me if I'm wrong, with a Washington Post article so many years ago regarding Super Bowl props and how he and his betting team were exploiting those markets. Here we are all these years later, and he's doing it still. It's Rufus Peabody, everybody, co-host of the Bet the Process pod, half the Massey Peabody team. He joins us now. How you doing, man?
I'm good, Gil. I'm tired, but...
Are you trying to steal my water? Was that what just about?
I was pointing water to gesture that I wanted water, too.
Oh, I see.
I've been here with you in studio at the D.
Oh, you have for a podcast?
For the Megapod.
For the Megapod, which you'll do this week as well with us.
I will.
Yes, but not for a numbers game.
Not for a numbers game.
All right, so let's start, not at the beginning. I don't need to hear where you were born or anything. By the way, you like the O's trade for Corbin Burns?
I'm ambivalent.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I think it helps us this year for sure, but I was really high on Joey Ortiz. I'm a lot higher on Joey Ortiz than Sig is, actually, which I was trying to convince him. Like, I was like, why don't you like Joey Ortiz that much? But...
What I love about this is, like, we're here to talk Super Bowl props, but as soon as I brought up the Orioles, your face lit up. Like, this is your... We should point out, we're both of that, again, that pocket in time of Washingtonians that were too young for the Senators and too old for the Nationals. So we're all Orioles fans. Mm-hmm. And you still go to games all the time.
Well, when they make the playoffs, when I'm in, in that area, I mean, I'll go down for a weekend series or something like that from New York.
Yeah.
But I will say what we have right now as Orioles fans is hope. And I love the fact that we have this stockpile of prospects. And it's like once we start trading them away, it's like that potential suddenly is gone in a way. Like we're turning it into reality. But it's like, I don't know. I love the idea that like we're building and that we have this like that we're going to be getting better and better and better.
I love your use of we and us. I still love that about it. It's a very childhood thing you carry with us. Okay.
Well, I meant me and you, but...
No,
but
you and the Orioles. You're part of the organization.
The royal we.
Okay. So let's go back to the beginning of this. Am I correct that it was a Washington Post article years ago that first sort of...
Yeah.
Okay.
That's correct.
What year was that?
This was the 2010 season, the 2011 Super Bowl.
God bless.
It's a long time ago, Gil.
It's a long time ago.
It's hard to believe it's been 13 years.
And I probably met you in 2011-ish or something like that at Sloan, something like that. So first of all, how did that come to be? Let's go back. You were at Yale. Mm-hmm. You did your thesis on what?
Psychological inefficiencies in the baseball betting market.
Got that, Kelly?
Yeah, my thesis was similar.
Similar.
Yeah, it was similar.
Yours was, I'm sorry, but Chris Singleton is the better player than Kawhi Leonard.
I mean, when you can do that for the economics degree, that's pretty money, right?
Yeah, that's awesome.
So you and Ed Fang, like very large brains. So then you decided that you wanted to do an internship. An internship didn't exist, but you decided you want to do one at Las Vegas Sports Consultants.
Well, this is before the senior thesis.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Okay.
I talked my way into an internship, but it was between my junior and senior year.
Roxy was there at the time.
No, Kenny White.
Kenny White.
But I like cold called, and they were like, he's not available. Call back in 2 weeks, like on Sunday at like noon or something like that. It was like they were just giving me the runaround, and eventually I just was persistent.
You beat him down.
I got Kenny White on the phone. Yeah.
Okay.
Eventually talked him into having me out there. I was like, you don't need to pay me. Like, I just want to learn.
And learn you did. And I don't mean to like distill it into a 20-second soundbite or anything, but you decided at some point, this is not, I don't want to do this. I want to actually be a bettor.
Well, I think the decision just kind of happened for me.
Okay.
I met a group of bettors back in, I guess it was the winter of 2009, and they took a chance, free-rolled me for the 2009 baseball season. We were doing some live betting, some other stuff. After a month, I had made the equivalent of my yearly salary, which, by the way, was only $25,000 at Las Vegas Sports Consultants. I took that job, and I loved that job, but it was not about the money. And at that point, like they tried to convince me to just come on with them full time, and clearly the compensation's a lot better.
Yeah. Okay. But that was not the group that you ended up with.
It was.
It was.
Well,
okay.
Well, it was the group that I was with for a number of years.
Right.
I'm still close friends with all those guys.
Okay. The person who met you in line was not part of that group. If I'm
no, the person that I met in line was Ed Teach, Mark
Ed
DeRosa,
Teach, who's been on this show.
Right. It was at the Golden Nugget. I was behind him. He literally ordered a whiskey and Coke while he was putting in props. He was up there for 30 straight minutes. He got the openers, and I was right behind him, and I was like, "Who is this guy?"
So how did
move? Order a drink while you're in line.
And then I ran into him at the Palms asking about NBA props a few months later, and so I followed him out into the parking lot to kind of, because I was a little sheepish to say anything, but I followed him out in the parking lot because I wanted to ask, like, I was like, who is this guy? Like, I've seen him, know, and he tells the story of he had his hand in his pocket on his mace and he was ready to mace me.
Yeah. By the way, is he okay? I haven't heard from him in a while.
He's doing well. He's living. Yeah, he's not in Vegas anymore.
Yeah,
living in Florida.
That's what I heard. Okay. How does the Washington Post article come to be?
So it comes from the Massey Peabody ratings, which I started with Cade Massey for the Wall Street Journal back in 2010. And I was trying to get those sort of more widely publicized, and I talked to Dan Steinberg from the Washington Post, who had the DC Sports Blog. I don't know if you remember that.
I remember it very well.
And so asked him if he would use those or tried to pimp out the ratings to him, and he didn't. But he came back to me that January and was like, "Hey, I'm actually trying to do a feature on like Super Bowl betting in Las Vegas and the prop betting," and it just started from there. He ended up following me around and actually he spent more time with my girlfriend at the time because she was actually running around from book to book a lot more.
Fair to say that the publicity, that the theme of publicity became a conflict point with the rest of your group sort of throughout the arc of your days with them to this day?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit. I think initially for sure.
Yeah.
They weren't happy about that because they were like, look, they know what your car looks like. They know it's got the rubber band side view mirror. Like, you're making yourself a target. Like, they're like, what good can come out of that? And yeah.
Yeah. But it was something that you struggled with because you didn't mind that.
No, I didn't mind it. I like the recognition.
You like the recognition. Okay. And we'll get into some of your props here, what you're willing to share, is the value, we're talking Super Bowl prop markets wide now, just as a body of props. Is it anywhere near as exploitable now as it was then?
It's exploitable in a different way. Back then, we were betting props that had 30% plus edges regularly. Jeez. Like the openers were amazing. Your William Hill was coming out with some receiver at 46.5 yards, and we bet him down to like 33.5 yards. Like they were just taking a season-long average or something like that. The win would open no roughing the passer at no minus 115 every single year. You're betting that up to like minus 200 plus, right? And so it was the gravy train of openers. That was like what we really focused on, getting everything ready really quickly and being ready for those openers and having people stationed at casinos around Vegas, having relationships with people that worked behind the counter to, even though most of the time those people would just give you disinformation or they didn't actually know, but actually knowing not to trust them and still staying there, right? So we just hustled so hard back then. And
that was in the day when you didn't know when necessarily every casino would open theirs. You kind of knew the Westgate, but you didn't really know the others.
Exactly. And sometimes stations would come out at they'd sneak some stuff out at 10 p.m. and everybody else had quit for the day, but our guys are still there, right? And so there was a lot of return to hustle then. So you had these huge edges you got. You bet stuff into place, and that was kind of our betting at that point. We got a lot down early. Now it's shifted, and I should say I am back. I'm working with some of those guys from the past again for the Super Bowl. It's kind of fun.
So every Super Bowl, the band gets back together.
This will be I think we've done it the last 2 years before, and now we're doing it this year as well.
All right.
It's just easier logistically too. They can hit Mississippi and Atlantic City and stuff like that. But now it's trended more towards betting on game day because you don't have great opening numbers anymore. I mean, they're much better if you're the sports book, I should say, because books like DraftKings are offering props every single week, and so they aren't as clueless. And so actually the opportunities for those listening are the props that you don't see every week, right? Because sportsbooks don't have a lot of experience pricing those. Those are the ones you want to attack.
All right, let's dive further into that. Let's try to get to some of these Super Bowl 58 props that you have bet that you're willing to share, because you're still showing up at the Westgate for the opening line.
Yeah, I literally bet 4. I made 4 bets there.
All right, we'd like to hear them, Rufus. You know what you're willing to share.
And one of them was a mistake.
Rufus Peabody coming back on a numbers game here at VSiN.
I sent him over to get water. Like, I could have done it during the break, but I didn't think about it.
Kelly had it. That was his promo. Kelly, you didn't get to scream A-N-G. He missed his moment. That's the voice of Rufus Peabody, everybody. Not just half of the Bet the Process podcast with Jeff Ma, also half the Massey Peabody team, and known primarily for all of his Super Bowl prop bets through the years. By the way, you still enjoy doing Bet the Process with Jeff?
I do.
Yeah?
I really do.
We
have some great guests on.
You do.
We got Kevin Clark last week, who I totally have a huge man crush on.
Is Kevin Clark the fourth down guy, the coach? The high school coach?
No. He's a journalist. He's now with the Omaha Productions thing. He was with The Ringer before.
Oh, that Kevin Clark. Okay, I was thinking about somebody else. Okay.
Yeah, no, he's fantastic. He's that's the only. He's basically the only football national content I consume, really.
Kelly, they had me on after eight seasons of Bet the Process, and my opener was, I knew you guys would get to me after 8 seasons of this.
Hey, man, save the best for last, right? Or something like that. Yeah.
Mine was a third well-received by the surveyed audience afterwards. No. A third not so much. Let me ask you this before we get back to the Super Bowl. This year, correct me if I'm wrong, this year was the first year that you started seriously betting college hoops.
Second year.
And it is now your bread and butter?
I'd say that. It and golf. There's a friendly rivalry between college basketball and golf.
That's screaming at each other. What
golf won the rivalry this week, thankfully.
Did you have Wyndham Clark?
I did. Well, the thing is, I actually had more on Aberg to win, or Obear, I should say.
Obear.
Actually, he's going with Oberg now, is what he told the media apparently this week.
But then the next round they said, actually, no, he said he wanted to be Ober.
Okay, never mind.
This is the Grillo-Grizzo thing.
So
here's my hot take on him.
Yeah.
He looks like Tom Brady and kind of talks like Tom Brady. He's like Norwegian Tom Brady. I'm serious. You look at his face, his eyes, I'm like this, he's going to be the GOAT, clearly.
You see that? By the way, before you continue, there's reports of somebody who got really smart on Saturday, and in the event that the fourth round would not be played, started making top 5, top 10
parlays,
outright winner parlays, and so it's a fascinating thing.
I wouldn't say it's that smart because the broadcasters were talking about this. The fact that
they were.
Yes, the whole round they were like, oh, because there's a very good chance this tournament ends after 54 holes. So someone just is.
I'm just saying to have the presence of mind to bet it. I know that the broadcasters were saying it. Yeah.
Right. The question is those bets can be voided.
We'll see.
And
it's going to be a big question on it.
Clearly it's not in the spirit of the game, but that's for others to debate.
That's right.
But no, I had Wyndham Clark 100-1 here. Which
nice.
And I can't get quite as much down as I can. That was the only place I bet it. It's the only place I got the 100-1. So, but the great thing about that is that it frees up more cash for Super Bowl betting.
Gotcha.
So versus winning somewhere else where I'm not going to just have cash immediately.
What convinced you to start betting college basketball? Because 4 years ago, if I ask you, are you going to bet college basketball? You're like, what are you talking about?
Right. So what convinced me is a partner I brought on, who built this amazing college basketball simulation framework, and it's his baby. It's his thing.
Totals or sides mainly?
Both. Mostly total. Totals are our bread and butter.
Okay.
But I've been able to help out, not in game. Although we do have a second half thing. I've been able to help out on the projection side, helping feed better, doing the data science to build a better projections that go into that. But the simulation framework is really, really beautiful that he's built, and it's yeah.
So Super Bowl 58 almost becomes a sidebar for you.
For sure.
Oh, wow. Okay. So
the Super Bowl is not a huge portion of our yearly volume or anything like that. It was a lot bigger back in the day.
Yeah.
When we weren't betting as much on everything else. But this is just a tradition. It's kind of fun.
It's a tradition, unlike any other. What did you bet so far? So you go to the Westgate this week.
I go to the Westgate.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. I was anticipating we're going to have 95% of our volume on game day weekend, and so I wasn't really stressing about getting numbers done getting all my numbers done. Like I still don't have defensive players or kicking or punting numbers done. I need to do that after we're done here.
A very lax version of Rufus
Right.
Peabody.
This is not what I was in the past.
Yeah.
So yeah, I showed up. I only put in 4 bets, and one of those was a mistake bet, actually.
What's the mistake bet?
And actually, the mistake bet is one that I talked to Patrick Everson and Ben Fox afterwards, and like they asked what I'd bet, and I told them that. I didn't know it was a mistake bet at the time. I'd misread my spreadsheet. So it was Mahomes over 13.5 longest rush.
Oh, man.
It turns out like Mahomes I have my little thing that's referencing the distributions and pulling in from the Sims. And Mahomes and Pacheco are on consecutive rows.
Oh.
And I'm looking across, and I'm looking at the Pacheco number.
You're a little older now, so it sort of meshed into each other.
So I like honest to God, I wasn't trying to like spread disinformation, but
that's what you ended up doing.
Yeah, I ended up giving out. Yeah,
he didn't do it on purpose.
I did not do it on purpose. Sorry, Patrick.
Ben and Patrick, he did not do it on purpose.
So it literally
but then I
happens to the
created a
best
nice
of us.
narrative around it too, right? Like Mahomes, I do think that narrative actually is true though. That Mahomes is going to be less likely to slide. I mean, both quarterbacks rushing are.
Yep.
You're not trying to protect yourself for future games at this point anymore.
Yeah, I played him over 26.5, so yeah, I'm sort of simpatico with you. What are the 3 bets you made that were actually legit bets?
I'm not sure. Remember, I bet Brandon Ayuk over 9.5 or 10.5 first reception. I think 9.5.
Okay.
I think they opened it at 8.5, and someone beat me to it, and I got 9.5.
So can you take us for the person who's newer and newish to bet, even veterans who are listening? How is it? What is at the core of your projections there? Are you looking at Brandon Ayuk's first catches? So what's the prop again? His first catch is over 10.5?
Over 9.5.
Over 9.5. Are you looking at all of his first catches for the year? How are you calculating that?
So I'm looking at his distribution of receptions. I'm looking at it not just first receptions. I think there's going to be too much noise in just that. Although if I want to later on dive deep, I haven't done this yet, I could look and see, is his first quarter distribution different? And that's actually one thing with George Kittle. His distribution in the second half has been very different, and trying to figure out how much of that is actually signal versus noise, right? Is he being deployed differently? And you can go into like, is he running different routes and things like that. But in this case, I was just looking at. I have, when I say I'm looking at, I mean I'm running code that's doing this.
But even that part you just mentioned is good to hear because it shows you're not a robot about this. At least you're talking about football itself there.
There's different levels you can go to on depth on all of these.
Sure.
And so for me, I'm not saying, Ayuk has been over 9 in this percentage. It's smoothed out. Like he could have had a ton of exactly 9-yard catches and very few exactly 10-yard catches, right? And that's going to not be super predictive. You care more about what that curve looks like. And so, adjusting for defense, looking at what the Chiefs give up, and then relative to league average on those, to wide receivers.
If someone is out there listening right now, I'm sure someone is, who is like, wow, this is exactly who I want to be. This is the guy that's on the radio right now. This is my North Star. First of all, what would you say to them, and how long?
Send me your resume.
Okay, send you your resume. But how long would it take for them? Because you've been doing this for years, and obviously it's gone through any number of iterations. But at the core of it, what does that person need to? What's the education that person needs to have?
So for me, I think the most impactful thing were the econometrics courses I took in college. But I think you need to have some sort of data science base. Whether it's econometric statistics, something like that, a way of answering problems and be able to do some coding.
Okay.
And I'm mostly a self-taught coder.
You're a super nerd ball like that.
Exactly.
You love that stuff. Okay. And your partners are not. That's their skill set is is getting it in.
Well,
getting the bets in.
My former partners were not.
Yes.
Although they're very well versed in numbers and stuff like that. Like
sure.
No, my partners now, one of my other partners is way better than me technically.
Okay, these are not the band getting back together.
Right. In terms of like the dev side. I'm not a developer or anything like that.
Okay. Do you remember another prop here before we go to break, or you want to save them for the other side? You'll have to jog your memory that you've bet so far.
I honestly am not sure.
Okay.
It was in probably another over. I've only bet really overs so far.
All right. We'll get and that's at the core you believe that, right? Overs early, unders late. Typically?
Yes. typically.
Are you just saying that to appease me right now?
No, I think that's true.
Okay.
It's true. If you want to bet an over, you want to bet it earlier, typically, because
you never know.
It's 100% true. I was trying to think of a funny joke to make,
okay.
like about how, that's all I ever bet is overs, right?
Yeah. All right.
Watch out. He's coming back for the under on that Mahomes first rush.
Yeah, that's right. He's got the best of it right now. Rufus Peabody, kind enough to hang with us for a third segment this morning. His week, Super Bowl props week. And let me just say this right off the top. Captain Jack, I'm sorry. I have just let you down here. Rufus, obviously, not only part of Bet the Process podcast, not only part of the Massey Peabody analytics team, not only betting, but also part of Unabated, co-founder of Unabated. Can you give, now this is, you're on the spot here.
Not again.
You're so bad at this.
Not again.
But can you give the people, I don't know why I talk like Cosby right there, but can you give everybody the elevator pitch for Unabated? Why should they use Unabated?
Great betting tools, community, education.
And
I'm keeping it.
let's try that again. Okay, what sort of tools might they use at Unabated?
So we have an odds screen that fully integrates with a bunch of trading tools, so you can figure out the price value of half points, conversions to money lines, first half stuff. It's indispensable for me when I'm trading.
What's your go-to thing? Is that what you go to?
Yeah,
probably?
I use a lot of alt line stuff.
Okay.
To be able to go from a spread to a money line.
Where do they go to get Unabated?
Unabated.com.
There it is. Okay. All right. Just want to get that in. We have some
/ Gil Alexander. No, just kidding.
No, don't do that. Okay. We have some tweets. Are you willing to just react to some tweets? Because people have questions.
Okay.
MTW at 24 Golfer. Gil, Rufus told someone he'll have at least $2 million in props this Sunday. What a boss. Is that true?
Yeah. I mean, it's me and the group.
Okay. Mike Rouse, this is not for you. Was Jason in Palm Desert because of the rain, or was he on the lam from the Postmaster General? I don't know. Could be either. Trip Tepper has this for you, Rufus. Rufus is, without question, the greatest prop bettor in the world. Curious the yield percentage.
I don't know if that's true. I'm just the one that people talk to.
Trip, he disputes your premise. Then Trip continues. Curious the yield percentage his group is targeting for the $2 million they're betting on the big game props. Is 4% to 5% realistic?
I mean, I would hope a little higher than that, but it all depends on what we end up betting. If we're just laying a bunch of minus 700 no's on game day with a lot of money, then it 4 to 5% is more reasonable. But I would say in general, we're targeting more in the 7 to 10% range, probably.
Cody Lutz wants to know what you're doing with your arm in this picture, Kelly. There's another tweet about that. Jordan Hagel, to Rufus's point on the props, books don't post as often. I found discrepancies in the yards of first reception market this weekend for a bunch of different guys, 20 to 30% difference in some cases. Jesse Welch. I love that Rufus is ambivalent on the O's because he loves the idea of hope for the future, so much so that he can't attach to the idea of winning now because his hope could end up ruined.
It's so true.
Now that's fandom for sure.
I know.
Let's see. Bill Hooker, I'm a dummy. He's used a different word. And Rufus is brilliant, but I'll bet he's been in studio on a numbers game previously. He has, but at the South Point. Many times.
Many times.
Yeah, but not here at the D. Okay. Did you remember either of the other two props or no? You didn't?
I think one was like a Jawan Jennings over first reception. It was basically like some first reception stuff.
Okay. What you're waiting...
I think I bet over field goals, actually.
Oh, wait a minute. I like this one. Over total field goals.
Total field goals. Normally, most years...
Made or attempted?
Made.
Okay.
Most years I'm betting on the under field goals made. But I actually like the over. I got like over 3.5 at plus 140.
Okay. Over 3.5 plus 140.
Mm-hmm. I think you have two coaches that are not particularly aggressive in terms of fourth down decision making. At least they have not been. And you do have an indoor condition and two good kickers. But it's more the fourth down aggressiveness stuff.
So that's more of a football calculus than it is your numbers?
Well, but that's a numbers thing. Like I can quantify how often Andy Reid has gone for it relative to what I'd expect based on the down distance yardage game situation.
Is that really is at the core, that all opinions you try to quantify? That's really what you're trying to get at. You don't want
all the actionable opinions, I guess.
All the actionable.
I mean, I have lots of opinions on sports, like the Orioles, that have no quantitative basis.
But that's fandom.
In my opinion, that Andy Reid off of the bye week, like that Andy Reid it may not be like the guy that's going to be the best test taker for the SAT. Like Bill Belichick would be better for that, given a short time frame. But that Andy Reid, given more time will build a really good game plan. Whereas Bill Belichick could do it in a quicker amount of time. Get like good, if he's got a short window, he's going to be better. With the long window, Andy Reid will be better. I have no quantitative basis for that.
I've heard you say many times, though, your basic operating philosophy is the more you allow your opinion to get into it, the worse off you are.
Yeah, I mean, my opinion is, I guess my intuition is useful in like asking the right questions.
Yeah.
Of the data, but it's more sort of on the development side rather than like at the end.
Any thing you'd like to share about? So you're waiting most of your action on the Super Bowl in the prop market. By the way, do you have anything on the side of total at all?
No.
Nothing. Okay. You're waiting for Saturday, Sunday. That's when the frenzy of activity is going to happen for you. Right now, of that $2 million, how much do you even have in action?
50,000.
That's it.
That's it.
So you're going to put 1.95 million in play, probably.
Hopefully,
Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah.
Okay.
And probably starting a little bit earlier. It just logistically can be difficult to do it all on Saturday, Sunday.
Are you willing to share, if not for this year, maybe you are, like what you are anticipating? Maybe you don't anticipate. Maybe you don't. Maybe you go in blind. You're just going to look at the numbers. But is there something in the past where you've been like, oh, this has been something that we could take advantage of late?
I mean, I think a lot of the sort of no's on like laying big prices against the sort of almost the SGP type style things in Nevada where they do have a yes no. Like those are almost with like the leftover money are good. Like if I can lay minus 700 on something that should be minus 1100, that's a nice it's a nice edge, but it's a small edge, but it's a meaningful edge. So I will say that every year it's a little bit different. There's props that I anticipate the numbers getting really good on. For example, like a Christian McCaffrey not to score a touchdown or something like that. And every year there is some number that goes way up. Like I think 2 years ago, Cooper Kupp receiving yards got up to like 108.5 it moved up from like 92.5 maybe at the opener. And so, but then there's also props. There's guys that I expect are going to get bet up that don't some years. So it's really interesting. You're kind of reacting and trying to gauge where the market's going to go and then trying to decide when to act because the number gets too high. Other sharp groups are going to come in and bet the under 2 and kind of destroy that momentum. And so you're like, there's an art to that. So that's part of the calculus too. You're aware that there's other groups lurking. Yeah, and also at some point you kind of have to. I mean, to be able to get enough down, you kind of have to bet something. Bet the under, and then let it go back up, and then bet it, and then just because there's just only so much time. Like Super Bowl Sunday is an absolutely crazy wild day. Did you even sit down and enjoy the game at all once it starts? Last year, I remember hopping in the hot tub for the second quarter, thinking we had we're like screwed. I just remember the first drive was so bad. There was like a Jalen Hurts fourth down rushing touchdown or something like that. We lost the no fourth down conversion, the Jalen Hurts no touchdown. Like it was pretty bad. Have you had a losing Super Bowl before? Oh yeah, many. But more winners than losers? Yes. Okay. Give me your the worst was the Eagles Patriots one. The just all went bad for you. That was right. That was the Nick Foles. Yes. Philly special one. Yeah. I mean, there was so much scoring. Yes, there was. That play particularly hurt you? I don't remember. I just remember like we were staying at Train's place and you're in the field. We went out like this is the Legacy Golf Club. We hopped out and played the 10th hole at halftime, like the par 3 there, their signature hole. That's awesome. It was fun. But we were very drunk and knew we were losing a lot of money at that point. What was your greatest either game or moment in Super Bowl prop history? What stands out to the positive? The first one with the betting group was amazing. That was the Saints Colts. But the first one I bet before I was like when I was still at LVSC, I didn't even watch that Super Bowl, Gil. At that point, I had gotten investments from friends and coworkers and borrowed some money. You were nervous beyond belief. I was nervous, and I had a bet on Gary Russell to score the first touchdown. And I remember after the game, like loading up my computer. I'm like, okay, do I have money left? Like, am I going to be out on the streets? And seeing Gary Russell score the first touchdown, I was like, holy shit, because that was like 20,000 right there. Yeah. Well, yeah, that was the actual reaction right there from Rufus.
Go to VSiN.com/subscribe to become a VSiN Pro subscriber today.